got us moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Giving the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
All right, welcome back to Young People Nation, and we're in our third session on counseling youth and young people. Again, back with us is Miss Natalie Bryant, licensed clinical social worker, owner of Restoring Harmony Counseling and Pearls. Now, in this third session, we're going to be talking about violence in school.
Okay.
Have you ever counseled a young person who was a bully or being bullied?
Yes, I actually did both. And a lot of times I find that the victim of bullying is just someone who's a little bit more introverted, and they haven't really found their voice yet. And working with the bully, they're very boisterous and they want to be seen, but I think they want to be a part. They want to be accepted. And so working with both parties, I just find that they want to fit. They want to fit in. The bully maybe to gain forced acceptance because something about them may not be accepted.
Okay.
Maybe it's their attitude, but it's not perceived acceptance from their peers, so they try to pressure people through bullying to have that acceptance, or even push people away because they don't want anyone to see their vulnerabilities.
I've seen some of that. The kid, because he doesn't have a voice at home and cannot communicate with their parents, they voice their opinion on others, and they usually be a little weaker than they are, and their presence, at home they be silent and steaming and don't have a voice and can't speak, and then when they get in the presence of the others that are weaker than they are the ones that you're gonna bring me that money for my lunch and all, give me your milk money and all like that, and the kid be so afraid to give it to him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about before in regards to power. They didn't have power at home. They weren't valued. Their voice wasn't heard. They had to sit there and accept what was given to them in a mistreated kind of way. And so when they got into a space where they could be the power in the situation, they take advantage of that.
That's that stereotype of sit at the table and eat all your green beans and you can't leave or else.
Yeah.
On our previous session, we had Miss Danju, who is a teacher, and Miss Williams, who is a counselor in our school system. They gave great wisdom concerning bullying and the counseling. Now we're at Miss Bryant's office. When it arrives to your level, then, and I'm sure it depends on the young person, what is and you gave the process about the medical portion and things of that nature. But once you've passed all that and they're at your desk in your office, let's talk about it.
Okay. I mean, when they come in, I don't do anything super special. I just try to meet them where they are. It's like what I've said before. When they come into my office and we've done all the things we need to do, we have a question. We just talk, and I ask them, well, what's going on? How you feeling? What's home like? What are your hobbies? What are things that you're interested in? So we may start off with things that they're interested in and just building rapport for a little while until they feel like they have felt me out and that I'm someone comfortable that they want to share with. And then I listen. I don't overpower conversations. I allow them to speak freely and do things that are unconventional, not the Freud situation. Like I said, music, dance, play, things of that nature. And a lot of times, because they feel like this is the one space that they're heard, they speak.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
That's good.
You take away that stereotype when they come in, they got to be chained up or some.
Where was you living, baby?
Oh, well, in the real world, back in my world, and it's not no policeman standing behind them, keeping them seated or and all like that, and they must sit there and they try to get up, they voice their opinion, and they slam back into the seat. I mean, people are visual, and
they are, and they look at things on TV. And you're coming from kind of a probation setting, or police setting,
yes,
which does happen if you have a juvenile that is delinquent or has caught charges. So it just depends on the circumstance.
Or they come in there with the little lay monitor on.
Yeah.
As a licensed social worker, what do your day look like, your beginning work look like when a young person is reflecting violence or being victimized?
Well, it depends on what type of victimization. But if the child is a minor and there's some type of abuse, we have to call in abuse cases.
Okay.
Actual abuse cases or even suspected abuse cases, those cases have to be called into the state child protection service, and an investigation is started. Now, when you're initially doing your paperwork, you do talk to people like, hey, I am a mandated reporter. If you are harmed to yourself or others, if there's a situation of abuse, those things have to be reported. Okay. So we always err on the caution to protect the child. So if there is, and that goes for even abusing another child, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be child on child abuse. So, but there should be a report made in regards to that. We do go through the process of therapy, but mandated reporting is priority.
Okay.
But I've seen that back in the 80s. I was going on a field exercise and we went to California. And when we got back, they went and got this E6 and they just put him in leg irons and everything. He had been abusing his family and victimizing the young girl, his own daughter, and everything on the outside looked like it was normal. But when he got home, he was a tyrant. And he did things, and he abused his daughter, and his wife was so victimized, she would just stand in the corner and let it happen. But once he left town, she was able to get her nerve up and able to go and report it. And when we came back 45 days later, hey, they put that guy in leg irons, and he was taken away. I said, wow, what's going on?
Well, you know what? A lot of times people think that sexual abuse and even physical abuse of kids isn't something that is a regular occurrence, but it's a very regular occurrence. And sadly, it's not something that's discussed, but 90% is the number. Victims are sexually abused or abused 90% of the times by people that they know. So it's not strangers, and we tend to teach our children stranger danger, but the danger doesn't always come from strangers.
That's good.
You know, so, we try to talk to them about healthy touch. How did that touch feel? If it didn't feel comfortable or good, then no, I don't want you to touch me, but I think when we grew up in a society of a few things that I think have set adolescents and teens up, where we take away their autonomy, and I say that when we do things like go over there and kiss your uncle, come on, hug your grandpa, and the kids are like, no, I don't want to go for whatever reason. It could be they're shy, it could be they don't like how the person looked, and we force them to do it anyway, and that just gives them the notion that their no doesn't mean no. their no means only no when you say no.
Yes.
Not when you say yes, and regardless, that no is changed. So, we take away their autonomy and their right to feel like they have a right over their own body.
That's good right there, because I know we're older than you are. However, you were raised, hey, go over there and give your uncle a hug and give your aunt a hug, and you like, but I was the type of child, if you did something like that, I was telling my dad. But I knew how my dad was. So you didn't want that fire.
You did not want the smoke.
Yeah, you don't want that smoke. And because
I'm a firm believer that children see exactly how you are. And, and they can see so deep into you that they can sense the spirit that you're carrying. And we as adults kind of like shallow that out, kind of like block that out and try to look for the good in everybody. But a child see you as
in your purest form.
Oh yes,
in your purest form.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Especially small kids.
Yeah, in your purest form. But I do. Listen, children, when it comes to sexual abuse and stuff like that, children won't come right out and say, "Hey, I'm being sexually abused." What they do is they test you to see how you will react to a certain circumstance that's much less. It'll be something silly, like maybe a toy or a friend situation or whatever, but they're always watching your response.
Yes.
And if they feel like this situation has you exploding, I can never tell you
That's so
about
true.
what really happened.
That's
and
true.
they carry that burden for you when it's not for them to carry, but they don't feel like you can hold it, even though you can. But they're looking at the response to see, are you going to believe them? Are you going to be supportive of them? And they're wanting to know what happens after that, Well,
we as adults make the mistake of small kids. I remember when my daughter was 3, and she be watching. Kids watch you, and they are smarter than what you think. Because at 3 years old, she knew how to unlock the latch on the door and walk out. And she did that about 3 o'clock in the morning. She put the chair up to the door, unlocked it, and walked out. And the neighbor just happened to come along and said, they left me. And they said, what's wrong? He said, my parents left me. She just walked out the door, and we were still asleep. And then we came around looking for her and everything. And the neighbor brought her over. He said, this your child. He said, and then she walked in and said, where you been? And then she said, y'all left me. We didn't leave you. We were up still asleep.
You left us.
Yeah.
Right.
In her world, we left.
You left.
But she knew how to unlock the door. She knew how to unlock it. And by her genius, she couldn't reach it, so she put the chair up there so she could get it.
Well,
and I said, wow.
I'm going to tell you that kids are very intuitive, just like when you say in regards to seeing people in their purest form. But they know who they can feel safe with.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel safe, you're not gonna have that conversation.
But you know what? Also, your phone is not safe because my grandson, him and his mom look so much alike. He knows to put the phone up to his face and unlock the phone.
Oh wow! Yeah,
because they look so much alike.
Listen, these kids nowadays, especially these pandemic babies. Man, listen, these kids are different. They are different. They are so smart. They're so amazing, and they're so talented. So, I put nothing past them.
Yeah, when he was 3, he was sending messages on the phone.
Yeah, he has a tracker phone. So they have a tracker phone for him. So he's always calling me. I be at work. I said, Peyton. So
he's like, I need to find my grandma.
Yes. Yeah, we love that little guy so much. Just got through celebrating his 4th birthday at White Waters.
Nice.
I have a question in reference to if a parent cannot afford the services. Are there other services or sources that they can look into?
Yeah, most communities have like sliding scale fee clinics, and that they can go to engage services in. They can also try to speak to therapists to see if they have pro bono sessions or a sliding scale fee that they can afford. Now, sliding scale fee just means you pay according to what your income looks like.
Okay, that's
so
good.
Each therapist has a different rate for sliding scale fee. So they'll have a bare minimum that they'll take.
Okay.
And it goes up to what they're normally charge.
Okay. Where we're coming to the close of our session, and we just want to hit, before we close, we just want to hit on, I want to hit on a few more things as well. That part that you talked about, how your children will study you. One of our daughters, well, both of them had situations in their life. They came and told us later, and we was like, so why didn't you tell us then? And it was like, well, we were scared you was going to go to jail. Yep. To your point. That
because they know their parents.
Right. And I was like, we wouldn't have went to jail. Oh, well, like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they know their
because
parents.
they knew how we were when it came to them.
You know, my sister Monique, she has 2 girls.
Beautiful.
And they tickle me all the time. Monique she speaks to them so they can come and speak to her about anything.
Yes.
And when they have something to say, it's bath time, they'll be talking, and they be like, Mommy, you my best friend, right? And she's like, yeah, right. And she's like, well, let me tell you what happened. And they just rattle off the day. And Monique has learned to school her face, to not react. And when I tell you, they tell her everything.
That's powerful.
They tell her everything. And she wanted it so that if something did come up, they felt safe to come and talk to her, that she wasn't going to fly off the handle.
Yes.
Or she wasn't going to dismiss them. She was going to hear them. And she was going to always make sure that they're safe. And they always respond to her in that manner, which I think is really, really great. Because sometimes we don't school our emotions.
Yes.
And our kids see us overreact over small things.
Yes.
And when they have something so major, they're like, there's no way that this can happen. There's no way that this can be shared with them, or I'm going to be in trouble. And so I always tell parents to hear what your kid is saying, before you make any judgments. Have the conversation. Try to hold your stuff in, because it's probably taken them all their energy and all of what they have in them to even say to you, hey, I'm struggling with this, or this is going on, or I'm being beat up or bullied or whatever. It takes so much for them to be that vulnerable. And so shutting them down, dismissing them, things like that, you may never get them to open up genuinely in that capacity again.
And that's true. And we've had to learn that even with our daughters who are adults. We're going to be talking about boundaries in a few more sessions, and understanding that you want to create a comfortable place that if they have something to ask you from that stance, that they can come and talk with you, and you talk with them, and you listen. Yeah. Listen to understand. I adopted this theory, and listen to understand and not respond. Yes, yes.
And that's hard to do, because even today, it feels like I laugh with my sister sometimes. I feel like, conversations nowadays, like double dutch. You like, let me jump in. Let me, the person could hardly even get their thought out, and you're like, ready. And I'm like, did you even hear? And, sometimes I'm that way, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget. I said, I have to retrain my brain, because I was like, sometimes I'm like, okay, Mo, let me say it, because I'm going to forget it if I don't say it. But we have to allow people to elaborate and explain and get what they need off their chest, so that you're able to help them effectively. What is the sense of having someone come to you to disclose, to really have thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and halfway through you shut them down? So you heard the first part and you have a resolution, but you didn't hear the whole thing. So are you really helping them, or are you really just kind of perpetuating the issue? Because now, even though they may have gotten something good, they're going to feel like, well, she didn't listen to everything I had to say. It was just kind of like, okay, so she must not have time to talk with me or share with me or whatever the case may be.
Well, that's a serious key right there. You just said we as parents got to make ourselves available to be able to listen to the kids, because the kids study us so much. I know my wife used to come home, not that I'm picking on her or anything. She was driving the driveway, and those van wheels would be turned in a certain direction. And Nina would come up there running, "Hey, Mama home." And the wheels turn. You know what that means? Everybody would get right.
Everybody gets pulled together.
Everything was pulled up. And when she walked in, everybody was looking at TV like, and sitting there nice and quiet and everything. Because we knew when the wheels turned certain way,
yes,
it is on.
Listen, my mother is Jamaican. We are first generation American. And she was a single parent. So we were latchkey children in Brooklyn. And, we had to make sure the doors closed, and we had to prep our foods, and we had to do our things, So we had so much responsibility as being latchkey kids. And we knew, hey, we are not allowed outside. We are not allowed that. If one of our neighbors saw us, we were in trouble. So, we had a lot of responsibility as latchkey children. But most kids in Brooklyn at that time were latchkey kids. But, we are very intuitive and pay attention. I always say I'm the alkaline to my mom. My mom is always rah, 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 on fire, and I'm always the calm. I'd be like, okay, Mom, well, why didn't you just handle it this way? And she was like, you do that. I'm not doing that.
Mom.
So I'd be like, okay, but she'll hear me, but, she'll hear me. And she'll talk to me, but I be like, you make yourself not approachable sometimes.
Hey, it's a lesson learned, and this is the end of our third session. Okay, and we are rolling with it, and we hope that each parent has grabbed a hold of this wisdom. Remember the 988 hotline and the crisis text line 741-741. Any comments?
Well, let God use you as the person that makes a difference in another person's life. Remember, this has been Young People Nation, and there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know His word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the number one prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what He gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going, keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by His love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth on to what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.